guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my tips and advice and a little bit of my personal experience going through the dietetic internship. So I just finished about a month ago, so I am completely through it. I've completed all 1,200 hours, and I just wanted to kind of sit down and film this video and share some real, like, straight up advice, because I feel like no one really talks about it that much, and I certainly wished that someone would have, sat down and told me these things before I started. And I'll be completely honest with you, I kind of dreaded sitting down. I'm kind of dreading right now making this video because I wish I could just sit here and be like, oh, it's all sunshine and roses and you're gonna do great. But that's just not the reality, and I hate being like the bearer of bad news. I don't even like to call it that because it's not necessarily bad news, but it really isn't all sunshine and roses, and I think that people should know that before going in completely blind like I did. So that is why I am sitting down filming this video, and I'm going to tell you why it is not all sunshine and roses. So before I jump into my advice and my experience and all of that, I just wanted to say, if you're watching this because you're about to start a dietetic internship, congratulations on getting matched. That is absolutely huge. It's so competitive and so difficult. So if you did get matched, I extend to you a congrats, because it really is a big deal and a big accomplishment. And I think the fact that it's so exciting when you get one is one of the reasons that maybe we're not so prepared for, the reality of the internship, because it's just like, oh my god, I'm so happy I got one, I don't even care, like, let's do it. But, so I think, if you are starting an internship, congratulations, but I hope that you find this advice helpful. I hope that you can, take it with a grain of salt, but really see it for what it is, and I'm really just trying to give you guys straight up real advice, so here goes. So the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that no one talks about it. Like, why is that? I don't understand. I mean, I can't speak for all dietetic interns or all, nutrition soon-to-be graduates, but at least from my personal experience, and then pretty much everyone that I came in contact, as far as other people I studied nutrition with at Penn State, and other interns in my class, and just generally people I met through this internship process, they all agree that, like, no one really talks about it. I mean, no one really tells you freshman year that you're gonna have this, like, super competitive internship, that there's only a 50-50 shot you might get it, and oh, guess what, you can't do anything with your major, with your degree, unless you get one. They don't really tell you that freshman year when you're deciding to do nutrition, or at least they definitely didn't tell us. So that's kind of frustrating, and if I had known freshman year, would I have changed my degree to something else other than nutrition? Probably not. It would have been nice to know, when I was making that decision, kind of what the future held. They were just kind of vague and like, oh, you have to do this internship, but, they just don't really tell you the full brunt until senior year, when they were like, oh, by the way, you have to get one of these, like, you better get matched. Like, it was so scary and so stressful, and I was like, oh my god, why did no one tell us this, like, freshman year? And I feel like it's kind of the same thing with the internship. No one really talks about it. No one is really super open about, like, what you're going to experience and how you're going to feel and whether or not it's going to suck. So I just want to kind of, like, break down that boundary, and anyone that watches this, I hope that you find it helpful, because no one really talks about it. Before starting my internship, when I asked either professors that were RDs or just RDs working in the field in general, when I asked them, what's your biggest piece of advice? Everyone just said, keep an open mind. I was like, okay, all right, I can do that. And I think, what they generally mean is keep an open mind. You're going through these different rotations. You might end up liking something that you never would have thought that you liked, and that could end up being your job someday, So I think that's definitely part of it, but I think the main thing is, like, keep an open mind, because you gotta kind of go with the flow. It's not gonna be your greatest year. Now I know that, but looking back then, I was kind of just like, oh, okay, I'll keep an open mind. It's gonna be great. Oh, like, I can do this. This is gonna be a great year. It's gonna expand my horizons. But really, they're like, just, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to bring it up, because they don't want to be negative and scare you and be like, well, it kind of sucks. You know what I mean? So I'm here to tell you that, guess what? It's not going to be your greatest year. Just going to be completely honest, it's not going to be your greatest year. It's going to kind of suck. There's going to be times when you're like, why am I even doing this? This is a waste of my time. And that's really, like, the truth. And I can't speak for everyone, like I said before, but all of the people that I've come in contact with and met through this process or met in undergrad that are going through this process but just in other locations, they all kind of say the same thing. I mean, we were all just kind of like, okay, like this is kind of rough. And even some of the RDs that, you know, like I got closer with, you know, during rotations, I would ask them, you know, be like, you know, what are your thoughts on this internship? Like how did you feel about it? And, you know, like do you like, what are your thoughts? And I'd have to say every single one I asked, not one was like, oh, my internship, oh, I learned so much, it was a great year. Everyone was just kind of like, I got through it. Like literally everyone. So no one is exactly looking back on this process fondly and now going through it I completely understand why, but those of you who haven't gone through it yet, to help you to understand a little more why it's not going to be your greatest year, I'm going to share with you a little bit of my personal experience and, you know, my struggles. And right off the bat I will say that my difficulty with this internship and where it challenged me was not in the day-to-day work. Like the actual going to work and what I was doing there, no matter what rotation I was in, was not the challenging part. I mean, you study nutrition for 4 years, and if you're working hard in your internship, you're gonna be fine. Like that's not the worry. What was way more challenging than for me was like the whole emotional aspect of it, getting up and going to work every day, not getting paid. I'll get to that a little later on. Always having like a new preceptor, so a new boss and a new commute and a new location and new directions and a new whole staff to feel out. I mean, I just want to say that I'm really like not trying to be negative. I know I probably sound like a Debbie Downer right now, but I'm just trying to be realistic with you. And I'm just gonna tell you what I wish someone told me. Because if someone had been straight up with me and was like, listen, you're gonna learn a lot, you know, you're gonna meet some nice people, and you're gonna feel confident as an entry-level RD when you're done, but it's gonna be rough, it's probably gonna suck, and you're not gonna enjoy, you know, every day. So if someone would have told me that beforehand, I would have been like, okay, alright, so I have this information, I know that that might happen, and when I hit those moments in the internship, I would have been able to handle it way better, because I would have been like, well, at least someone warned me, like I knew this was coming. But I didn't. I had no idea. I went in thinking, oh my god, this is going to be like a cool year. I get to see all these different aspects of the field. Like I was just like so naive and excited, which I think most people are, because it is exciting. I mean, it's exciting to like get into your field. Like you've been studying nutrition for so long. It's exciting to actually get out there and like start working. But it's just, it's not like that. You're an intern. I mean, you're not really working. So it was just difficult to deal with, and I wish that someone would have just told me these things before I started, because I think it would have helped me tremendously. So again, I'm really not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to scare you or make you not excited for it, because it is, you know, a new chapter in your life and you should be excited for it. But I just want you to be more emotionally prepared than I was, because I certainly was not. And I am not an emotional person. Like, I'm not someone that, like, just can't keep their shit together and, you know, cries and, you know, not that there's anything wrong with that. That's just not how I am. Like, I am always, like, I just can keep it together and I can just plug along and do my thing. But there were some moments this year where I completely broke down. I mean, like, tears, just breakdowns. And that is so not like me. And even just, like, there were some days where I was just so frustrated that like I was trying so hard not to cry because I was just so frustrated and fed up. And again, not like me. So I just want you to be emotionally prepared. I can even remember actually someone I graduated with saying that she talked to a girl that was in, you know, an intern now, and she was like, she said she cries a lot, and I was like, oh my god, like I don't have time for that. That is so, like, I am not going to be crying all the time. Like, give me a break. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the unpaid aspect. So those of you who are about to go into your internship, you know you're not getting paid. But those of you who don't really know much about the internship, you do not get paid. And not only do you not get paid, you have to pay tuition. So you essentially pay to work for free. And it's usually not like a measly tuition. Like, it's a pretty decent amount of money. So that's frustrating from the get-go. But, you know, and I don't want to sit here sounding like really like vain and shallow and like I need money. Like that's not really what it is. Like, it's more that when you don't have an income, you can't support yourself. And I was very fortunate that, you know, I was able to move home and my parents were able to support me at home and I didn't have to worry about that. But just not having like your own money, it's just like, God, I mean, maybe that probably doesn't bother some people, but I'm super independent, so that really, really ate away at me. I hated always having to ask for something. Like, even if it was something small that I actually needed, like face wash, like, like I still remember specific times where to Matt was like, I ran out of my face cream that I use at night, like, can you buy me another one? And I felt so bad, like, and he was like, yeah, like, I don't care, you need face cream. But, like, just little things like that, and I really hated that, and that really bothered me, so, like, the little day-to-day stuff like that was hard to deal with. But on top of that, which, like, the bigger thing with not having an income is I felt like my life was just put on hold for a year. And that was mainly because, you know, I didn't have any money coming in, so I couldn't like save up any money for things that, you know, I'll need money for in the future, like, you know, buying a house and, you know, getting married someday. And I just like, I'm a saver, always have been, and it was just really hard for me to like completely halt this year and just not have any like monetary improvement, growth. So again, that might sound shallow, but it's not like I was just like, well, I just couldn't go shopping anymore. Like that's really not what it was. It was much bigger than that. And I hated feeling independent. And I mean, a lot of people do like move out because they end up getting matched in other cities that they don't live in. I was fortunate enough to get matched at home, so in my hometown area. So I lived at home, and living at home really wasn't the problem. That didn't bother me. It was more so the fact that even if I wanted to move out, I couldn't, you know, like I just didn't have a choice. And it's hard to see, you know, all of my friends that, you know, graduate, all my best friends that graduated with me, a lot of them moved to new cities, they all had new jobs, they all moved out and were like, you know, just completely on their own and independent. And I was just like sitting here and, you know, I couldn't go visit them because I didn't have any money. And it was just like, it was rough. And again, I don't want to sound shallow, but it's just like seeing all of them, and it wasn't just them, but like just in general, like knowing my whole class that I graduated with is like moving on, starting their careers and getting their foot in the door somewhere, and it's just kind of like, here I am, like going to work for free every day, yay! Like it's just not fun. Like it's not fun. It's not how I would have wanted to spend my first year out of college, that is for sure. So my tips and advice to go along with not getting an income, my biggest piece of advice, honestly I think for the whole internship, is get some kind of side job. Some people may not agree with this piece of advice because, you know, of course this is just adding another thing onto your plate. But I think if I had some kind of like either bartending 1 or 2 nights a week or waitressing on the weekends, like even one day, like one shift, like I think that would have made the world of difference. Just being able to have that little bit of money where I could just kind of float on my own and get through the year and not have to ask everyone around me for every single thing I needed. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. Just get some kind of something that brings in money. Another thing is to save up money beforehand. I did have some money saved this year that I kind of allotted myself to use throughout the year for things like Christmas presents and like if I needed to buy things here and there. But when you don't have any money coming in, just wait. Pretty much every purchase you make, you're like, do I really want that? Because that money's gone forever. The next thing I want to talk about is how to deal with always having new like locations, new preceptors. So the internship is already split up into 3 rotations, so you're at least going to be going to 3 different places. For my community rotation, I was all over. I went to a bunch of different places. So that was like when I was constantly uprooted to a new place like every couple weeks, and that was also the very beginning of the internship, so that was just like really difficult right off the bat. But so you're going to be dealing with, you know, new preceptors or bosses all the time, and my biggest piece of advice is when you get into a place, just try and settle in as fast as possible and just dive in. Like, don't hesitate. If they give you work, you know, of course ask any questions that are necessary to get the job done, but just dive in. Like, just start being a hard worker and getting things done, and just this, because the sooner that you kind of settle in and get comfortable working in that environment, the easier it's going to be on you, because soon you're going to be uprooted and you're going to have to do it all over again. So the more time you have that you feel comfortable in a place, the better. Whenever you're going to a new location, definitely give yourself a ton of time to get there in the morning. I would always allot myself about 20 minutes to, you know, find parking and then find where I'm going within the building, find the office I need to go to, find my preceptor, and then like an additional 20 minutes just to deal with possible traffic. So I would give myself like the amount of time that it takes to get there according to Google Maps plus 40 minutes. And I was never like late on a first day ever. Like I always found where I was going. I usually always had plenty of time. And there were a couple times where I like just made it. So definitely give yourself the most time possible on your first day because it's just not worth being late. On the train station, if you've never ridden on the train before and you have no idea like how it works, where to get off, what to do, I would highly suggest doing like a test run on the weekend just to find out like where you're going, how to pay, and where to get off, where to go from there, because it just makes your first day way less stressful if like you just know how to get there. And my last piece of advice for that is have a car charger. If you're gonna be driving somewhere and you're depending on your phone for directions, have a car charger, because there was one place that I went that it was only for like 2 weeks, but I kid you not, it was about an hour and 10 minutes from my house, maybe even more. And I, you know, did my whole Google Maps on the way there. I found it was fine, and then I wasn't on my phone all day, but the room that I was in didn't have like any service, so it totally killed my battery. And then I went to leave at the end of the day and I was like, oh my god. I got my car and I was like, oh, my phone's dead. I don't know how to get home. Like I almost had a panic attack, like, and I couldn't even like call someone and been like, hello, like I don't know what to do. Everyone was already gone and I was just like, so that was horrible. I ended up getting home, I ended up being okay. Well, definitely have a car charger if you're going to be using your phone for directions. Don't make the same mistake I did. The last piece of advice I want to give you is just ask a ton of questions, especially when you're in your clinical rotation, because that is when there's just so much information to know, and the more questions you ask, the more you will end up knowing by the end. So definitely don't just, you know, keep your like mouth shut. If you have a question, just ask. You know, you are the intern, so they all know that you don't necessarily know what's going on, so they're going to be open to your questions. And even if they're not, ask anyway, because this is your internship and you are there to learn. It is your job to learn. So no matter what, if you have a question, always ask it. So I really hope that I didn't like scare people about what's about to happen. I just wanted to give you guys a realistic, you know, idea of what's going to be happening and how you might be feeling throughout this thing. Again, I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself and, you know, those that I have talked to about this experience. Another thing is everyone's experience is going to be different. You're all going to have different preceptors, you're going to have different locations you're in, you're going to have completely different living situations. So no matter what, everyone's internship is going to differ a lot. They even differ in length. Most are like 9 months. Mine was 11 months, which I think is why I was like this needs to end. Like it was just literally never ending. But you know, it's all going to be different. Not everyone's going to have the same experience as me. There might be someone out there who was like, I loved it. You're probably gonna be hard pressed to find them, but you know, I'm sure there's someone out there. And I want to say, out of the 3 rotations, community, food service, and clinical, I don't want to say to like not take some of them seriously, like that's not what I'm saying, but if there's one that you have to take the most seriously, it's clinical. Clinical is intense. Clinical is so necessary. To be completely honest with you, I don't feel the food service and community rotations are totally necessary. And clinical, however, is so necessary. Like, take it seriously. It's intense. You have to know all this stuff. Even if you don't necessarily want to go into clinical, it's a really great starting point in your career, and it's a lot of times like some of the only jobs you can get are clinical positions, you know, as an entry-level dietitian. So take it seriously. You're gonna learn a lot. Even if you had like the best medical nutrition therapy professor in the world, you still have so much to learn, because you have to learn how to talk to patients, how to work with other members of the interdisciplinary team, like the doctors and the nurses and the caseworkers and social workers and everyone like that. And also just like the job in general, like what you do in a hospital. The very last thing I wanted to say is, even though it's probably going to be a difficult year and, you know, you're going to struggle here and there, you are going to learn a lot. I mean, you're going to come out so much more confident than, you know, how you feel when you go in, and you're just going to learn so much. And it is, at the end of the day, a really unique experience, to be able to just take this one, you know, year or so and experience all like sections of the field. Not many other careers really do that. So it is, you know, a unique opportunity to be able to see all of this and really figure out where you want to go in your career. Would I necessarily want to take the year off to do that, while, you know, most other careers, you just start working and you kind of figure it out from there. No, I wouldn't want to take the year off. I wouldn't want to do it again. But, you know, it is what it is, and you do have to do it. And at the end of the day, just learn as much as you can, figure out what you like, because that is one of the really, really great benefits of this internship, is you kind of figure out where you fit in and where you want to start working as a dietitian and where you want to make your difference. So that is all I have for this video. Again, I kind of feel like the bearer of bad news, and I hate that. But I just wanted to be real with you, because that's just how I feel, and I know other people feel about this internship. And again, it's stuff that I wish someone would have told me. And if I had known, you know, what I know now going into it, it would have been, I think, just a completely different ballgame. So I hope that you guys can take this with a grain of salt. I hope I'm not offending anyone. I just wanted to be honest and give my just real opinion. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that, you know, you still feel excited. I hope that you're ready to tackle this internship. My hope now is that instead of going in with an open mind, you guys can go in with a more informed mind. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!